Hey YouTube, Dan Otto here, and you're getting a double dose of videos today because we have two leagues starting, which are going to have very different metas. Both Ultra League, 2500 CP, but one is open, level 50, and legendary. And this video is going to go over Premier Classic, which is level 40 and no legendary. So what I always do with these videos is look at the rankings first and then give you team ideas. So the rankings have changed significantly because of the wing attack boost. This wing attack boost has significantly shifted the meta in Great League between becoming all flyers, steel, and fighters. And now it's going to shift the Ultra League Premier Classic because wing attack Charizard at 1 and 2, wing attack Gliscor at 3 and 5. The wing attack buff just makes these Pokemon so strong. Charizard is always strong. Blast Burn kind of gives you a ton of new coverage here. Get to it faster. Dragon Claw gives you coverage on Dragonite and stuff like that. You still lose their Dragonite matchup, but it at least gives you some coverage. So strong Pokemon, same thing. Gliscor can now get to their moves faster. So kind of limits what... And Ultra League is always an interesting one because there's a lot of fighters in Ultra League. A lot of counter users, as you're going to see on this list. So it kind of like already knocks them down a lot. So Trevenant is an interesting one because Trevenant is going to get lit up by Charizard and Gliscor, right? And Dragonite for that matter at number 6. But there's still Swampards on this list. There's still Steelix on this list, which you can hit neutral for. There's fighters on this list that you do. There's water on this list that you can hit super effective for. You'll do what a Togekiss. So Trevenant is going to have a spot on this. Just build against the wing attack flyers that you're going to see in this meta. Dragonite is an interesting one because it will resist the fire in Charizard. So it's a nice answer to Charizard, just going Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw straight there. Plus you have the superpower coverage for like Steelix, stuff like that, if you get walled by the Dragon Breath. Swampert, if you got Mudshot and Hydro Cannon, Swampert's always going to be on the top 10 list, right? We know what Swampert is. Como, same sort of deal as Dragonite. Dragonite has the added flyer bonus, right? So you do better against like fighters as opposed to Como, which is just I think fighter dragon. Steelix is an interesting one because it's still gonna hurt taking a blast burn. It's gonna hurt taking an earthquake. So even though it resists the wing attack, it's still gonna get hurt by those nuke moves. The Dragon Tail obviously will be great against the dragon, which you can also resist because of the steel. And just Psychic Fang Crunch is just, it gets to pretty fast. For a Dragon Tail charge move, the charge moves come pretty quickly, which is nice. We have a few counter users on this list. Surfetch'd, Escab, and Machamp. I love all three of these Pokemon. I've used Surfetch'd multiple times because it is just a glass cannon. It just Leaf Blade, great coverage. Running Brave Bird on this, which can like one-shot pretty much anything. Shadow Machamp, again, Shadow Machamp doesn't have a bad matchup. I always joke because like Rock Slide you can still hit for usually at least neutral on most of these things that resist the counter. And then Counter Cross Chop just adds up so quickly. And then Escab, this is so disappointing because Escab was one of my favorite Pokemon to use in the Ultra League. It was so underrated. I used it so many times. Now you have a wing attack Charizard that knows Blast Burn coming at you and it's going to just dominate you, and I expect Charizard to be on so many teams. So Escab is probably going to be lower for me, even though it's such a good Pokemon. Togekiss only Charmer on this list, which is interesting because Charmers had its play, especially in level 40. I don't know how prevalent they're going to be as much more. I have Sylveon on my team, but Sylveon runs Quick Attack. And then we have a couple Powder Snow users, Aurorus and Walrein, which are nice answers to Charizard to a certain extent. Plus nice coverage for like Trevenant, and does okay. And well, not Aurorus because it's half rock, but like Walrein will deal with Swampert and the dragons, right? So Powder Snow users are pretty strong in this. And Gyarados, whenever you can get a Dragon Breath user that's not a dragon, is great. Plus Aqua Tail, fast move for both Charizard and Gliscor weak to water, which is nice too. So let's look at some teams. So the first team I started with was just a Charizard, number 1 on the list. Let's use Charizard. My goodness, look at those X's straight down the board. A lot of small wins, a lot of big wins. Only loses to Swampert, Water, Dragonite, resists the Fire Breath, the Fire charge move. Walrein, Ice, you're just going to get out spam there. And Gyarados, which knows Water. The rest of it, you win. Like it's so dominating. So if you're going to use this Pokemon, just cover your weaknesses. So Lapras was a nice answer because it is ice, so it'll deal with Dragonite. It is water, so it'll deal with the Swampert. It will resist the Gyarados Surf, so it doesn't really have anything to do. So it's a nice, it'll beat Walreign's kind of close. You need to, it kind of beat depending on like the Earthquake versus the Skull Bash. So then the problem with this team is it's double weak to electric. So one of two things here. I don't know if there's going to be a ton of electric. There is like Luxray and a couple others. So keep that in mind. If you're seeing electric, this team may not work. But Trevenant deals with the electric. So that's why it's sort of an ABB, but it's not a true ABB because Lapras is weak to fighting and Charizard will do well against Fighter with Wing Attack now. So it's not a true ABB, but Trevenant is a nice answer to deal with that electric. Plus it will have a harder answer to Swampert, which is one of your only losses to Charizard. And it's a pretty strong Pokemon overall. Just, again, keep it away from the Flyers. So then I'm like, okay, if Charizard's going to be on every single person's team, I need to beat Charizard, right? So what three Pokemon beat Charizard? Swampert, Dragonite, and Aurorus. All three beat it. And it's interesting because I just went for the first three I saw on the list that beat it. And all three beat this. And they all at least cover at least one weaknesses down the board. And a couple of these circles that you're seeing here are mirror matches, like Dragonite, even though it says loss, that's mirror match. Swampert, same thing. Swampert, that's a mirror match. So that's not a true loss there. So you have a lot of coverage all the way down. I think Walreign's going to be your biggest issue because it's going to light up Dragonite. And you're going to have a tough time against Swampert, especially if you don't land an Earthquake. And then Aurorus is only sort of like neutral against it at best. So Walreign's a bit trickier. You don't need to run. This really comes down to what your teams you're seeing. If you're seeing 90% of teams that have Charizard on it, yeah, run a triple Charizard counter on it. If you're only seeing like 50%, maybe this isn't the team for you because it does have some sort of glaring weaknesses. But I expect Charizard to be on a lot of teams. So there is that. The third, I tried Empoleon Double Dragon. So for those of you who don't know, Empoleon Double Dragon was like one of the best teams for like 4 or 5 seasons of Ultra League because there was no XL and no legendaries in like the classics. And it doesn't work anymore. Empoleon just kind of gets outbulked. There's too many counter users now. Dragonite, there's too many ice users now. Kingdra doesn't have a lot of play. So I started with Empoleon and Dragonite because it's still kind of like they cover each other's weaknesses, right? They do what they're supposed to do. But now Walreign's an issue, right? Because Walreign's going to have a decent matchup against Empoleon 2. Champ that's just stupid. But yeah, Gyarados is that's kind of like iffy too. So then I was like, okay, what's up there that actually does some decent coverage? And they recommended Quick Attack Sylveon, and that's interesting because Sylveon will have Quick Attack was a pretty quick charging move now because it got buffed, and it can get to charge moves pretty quickly. So you're going to lose to Charizard because you won't have because your main in Moonblast won't be resisted. But for the most part, Moonblast is going to hit pretty hard on a lot of these other things. Plus, I think it's Psyshock as that quicker move bait. So don't sleep on Sylveon. It's got a lot of pretty good matchups down the board. And again, there's not going to be like a ton of just poisons to take it out. And the last team, I started with Gliscor, which is actually on the right-hand side here because it's the second ranked. And it's got some wins, but definitely way more losses than the Charizard, which is, I guess, it's ranked number 2. The main issue being it's double weak to Walrein, right? So you got to deal with that. And then other matchups are kind of just like whatever. So a lot of the weaknesses that I found with Gliscor, Swampert, Steelix could be covered by a counter user. So that's why I put in Surfetch. So Surfetch is a nice counter user there. Deals with all those things that are 1 weak to counter and 2 kind of deal with Gliscor. And then you needed like a sort of safe swap, sort of something else to kind of cover the in-between here. I went with Walrein just because Walrein covers, you don't really have an answer to Charizard here, so Walrein covers Charizard. Whenever you can have a Pokemon that covers like your top Pokemon here, Charizard, Gliscor, Trevenant, Dragonite, like if you cover 4 of the top 5 Pokemon and Swampert, why does it say you lose to Swampert? That's not really true either, right? So I think you kind of win Swampert too. Depends if you shield up the Earthquake. But like if you beat Swampert too, like you cover the first 5 Pokemon, and that's pretty good in Walrein. There are a lot of counter users in this, right? But I think Gliscor and Surfetch between the two of them can kind of deal with that. So that is it. Like I said, I expect to see a lot of Charizard in this. It was already sort of pretty good to start with. Wing Attack buff just is going to change this meta. So I'm undecided how I'm going to start. I'm going to be playing Premier Classic, I think, because Ultra League is also on next week. So I'm going to have some videos next week on Ultra League. I think I'll play Premier Classic. I don't know if I think I've already used one elite fast elite TM on the Wing Attack Great League Charizard. Now I'm gonna have to use it another one on the Ultra League. Plus I'm gonna have to use a third one on my Pidgeot now to get that for the Ultra League. So man, I asked why Niantic did it, but that's why they did it, right? Because I'm just gonna drop 3 elite TMs to get Wing Attack on all these Pokemon. Anyways, that is it. Let me know what you're running. If there's like a sneaky Pokemon in Premier Classic that you think is going to have a lot of play, or is it just going to be Charizard and countering Charizard? So let me know in the comments below. I'll drop the open teams at 4 o'clock today when the league turns over, and that is it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later this afternoon.